Hey everybody! Today we're going to be focusing on how to paint another Seraphon video. So for this, all we're going to do is see if you look here, I got a model called a Seraphon stegadon, the Sky Streak bow. So all we're going to focus on today is how to paint the horns. For this, all the horns are already done, so I'm going to show you how to do one of them. Don't worry, this apply method will apply for any other horns that you put on the miniature. For this, we're going to use a base coat for the horns of Morgos bone. So what we're going to do, take some Morgos bone. Oh, let me get my palette in frame here. Put on our palette. Thin it down a smidge. So, for the horns, particularly on the face, all we're going to do is going to base coat them with Morgos bone. Just a base coat. Now the reason why I'm only doing one horn is because this method will also apply for any other horns, such as right here, 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 and here. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now, we're going to let that dry for a second. And while we're doing that, for the stegadon, all we're going to do, we're going to look at the horn again. Oh, sorry about that. We're also yes, the horns. So, for the most part, we're gonna do another smaller, darker color. We're gonna use Sandry dust. So, if you're wondering what we're using the Sandry dust for, it's to create little lines to make our horn look like it's growing. So it gives you that illusion effect. So, what we're gonna do, if you take a little bit of Sandry dust, thin line, all we're gonna do right here, just paint it on the ends. And the paint is still wet, which is perfect. That means we'll get a nice wet blend. And wet blend basically means that we'll have a nice unit, that will have a nice blended tone. Alright, that's the darker part done. Alright, so now all we're gonna do is we're gonna wait before we applied the wash, and we gotta let this dry a little bit. So, for this, we're going to focus on a different base coat. For this, well, not a base coat, my fault. For this, we're going to be using another bone color. But first, let me make sure I find the right one real quick. Give me a second. Okay, flesh. Sorry about that. All right, while the paint's still wet, slightly wet, we're going to use a layer of Screaming Skull. So, what the Screaming Skull is going to do is that we're going to do another feathering technique. So, basically what that means is we feather it out and make sure it looks like growing. So, twist it out. So, all we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to apply a little bit of feathering like so. Now, if you look, the feathering is very properly. So all we're going to do right here, let me point it towards the light. Sorry about that. So if you notice, we're going to feather a little bit so we blend in the color a little bit. Like so. Feather it out. Okay. Now, all that's left is that we're going to do a little more feathering. For this, we're going to use a different tone. For this, we're going to be using Flayed One Flesh. Now, it may sound weird using a flesh paint, but this is the nice light, brighter tone that we're looking for. So, what we're going to do, feather it again. Okay, that's that part done. And now, we're going to do a final feathering technique. And for this, we're going to use our most brightest color possible, which is going to be Wraith Bone. So, for the Wraith Bone, only focus on the tips of the model, of the horns. So, only on the tips. Okay, there we go. So now, what we're going to do is kind of like an optional snap, but we're going to apply the wash into the recesses. For this, we're going to use skeleton horde. So for a contrast paint, always make sure you shake it up, because if you don't shake it up, then it's going to be dry really, really shiny. You don't want that whatsoever. Okay, so all we're going to do is that if you can do the feathering technique as well, we're going to take our 5-0 brush that I've been using. So take this, take some contrast paint, make sure it's not too much. And all we're going to do is going to apply this contrast paint into the recesses. So that way and give our horn the growing effect that we're looking for. And feather it out. All right, so, and just one last stage to finish off our horn. All we're going to do is we're going to apply a wash. For this, we're going to use a good old class 6 Seraphim Sepia. Now, if you don't have Seraphim Sepia, you could of course use Agrax Earthshade or Skeleton Horde in order to shade it, but we're going to use Seraphim Sepia to make sure it's kind of united with the other bone colors. For this, I'm going to use a size 0 diagonal brush. So all we're going to do, so let me make sure the paint pot is open properly. Okay, there we go. So all we're going to do, get some wash. So all we're going to do, apply this wash all over the thing. And we're going to do a little lightly. The reason why we're going to do it kind of lightly is so the horns can actually show through. Okay, and that's the horn on our stegadon done. So, this horn is up to battle ready standard. Parade ready video may come shortly. So, I will leave off for this for today, but I hope you really enjoyed this video, this Seraphim painting tutorial. Bye bye.